The night air over Lake Michigan was cold and silent, broken only by the low hum of waves brushing against the side of a luxurious yacht anchored far from the shore. The vessel floated like a ghost in the darkness, its lights glowing softly against the black water. Inside one of the cabins, Jack Abbott lay on the large bed, his shirt partly unbuttoned, his vision blurry. The room seemed to tilt slightly every time he tried to focus. His head throbbed and his thoughts felt wrapped in fog. Something wasn't right. He tried to sit up, but the world spun around him. Standing near the bed, watching him with unsettling excitement in her eyes, was Patty Williams. Patty leaned closer, brushing a strand of hair from Jack's forehead. "Well, hello, Jack," she whispered. "You look like you're finally waking up." Jack blinked slowly. "Patty, what are you doing here?" His voice sounded distant even to himself. Patty smiled with eerie affection. "I've been waiting for this moment for a very long time." Jack tried to stand, but his legs failed him. The sedative running through his system kept his body weak and his mind confused. Patty gently pushed him back down onto the bed. "You shouldn't fight it," she said softly. "Victor said the medicine would make you relaxed." At the mention of Victor Newman, Jack's foggy brain tried to process what was happening. Victor, drugged, yacht. Nothing made sense. But Patty was already climbing onto the bed beside him. "Just let go, Jack," she murmured. "Tonight you're mine." Across the lake, another boat cut through the dark water at high speed. Inside the rented vessel, Diane Jenkins Abbott stood at the front gripping the rail, her face tight with anger and fear. Billy Abbott steered the boat while Kyle Abbott sat beside him, constantly checking his phone. The tension between them was suffocating. Billy finally broke the silence. "That office manager was terrified," he said, "but the bribe worked. Patty checked into Victor's office 2 days ago." Kyle frowned. "So Victor hired Patty to go after Dad?" Billy nodded grimly. "Looks that way." Diane turned sharply toward them. "I knew something was wrong the moment Jack disappeared," she said, her voice trembling with fury. "Victor never lets anything go." Kyle looked toward the distant yacht lights. "That must be it." Diane's eyes locked on the vessel. "Take us closer." Billy slowed the boat as they approached. "Careful," he said, "we don't know what we're walking into." But Diane was already climbing onto the yacht's side ladder. "Then we'd better find out." Moments later, the three Abbotts quietly stepped onto the deck. The yacht was strangely quiet. "Too quiet." Billy gestured toward the hallway leading below deck. "I'll check the bridge," he whispered. "You two search the cabins." Diane nodded. She and Kyle moved quickly through the narrow corridor, the sound of their footsteps echoing softly against the polished floor. "Dad," Kyle called quietly. No answer. Diane's heart pounded harder with every step. Then she heard something. A faint noise from behind a closed door. A voice. Jack's voice. Her stomach twisted. She rushed forward. "Jack." She grabbed the door handle but hesitated. Something about the sounds inside made her chest tighten with dread. Kyle looked at her. "You okay?" Diane shook her head and knocked hard on the door. Jack opened the door. Inside the room, Patty froze. Jack's half-clouded mind struggled to understand what was happening. "Diane," he mumbled. Patty's eyes widened. "No," she whispered, "she can't be here." Outside, Diane pounded harder. "Jack." The door suddenly swung open. Diane stepped inside and froze. The sight in front of her felt like a knife stabbing straight through her heart. Jack Abbott lay tangled in the sheets. Patty Williams was beside him in the bed. Diane's face turned pale with shock. For a moment, the entire world seemed to stop. Then the rage exploded. "What the hell is going on here?" Jack struggled to sit up. "Diane, I don't." His words slurred. Diane immediately noticed his unfocused eyes. "You're drugged," she realized. Her attention snapped toward Patty, and her fury doubled. "You did this." Patty climbed off the bed slowly, completely unapologetic. "Oh, relax, Diane. Jack and I were just reconnecting." Diane laughed bitterly. "Reconnect." She stepped closer, her voice shaking with rage. "You kidnapped my husband." Patty tilted her head. "He didn't seem to mind." Jack groaned, holding his head. "Something's wrong, I can't think." Kyle burst into the room. "Mom, Billy says the crew's gone." He stopped mid-sentence when he saw the scene. Dad? Diane pointed at Patty. She drugged him. Kyle's jaw tightened. Patty shrugged casually. Victor needed a little help teaching Jack a lesson. The name Victor ignited Diane's anger even more. Of course, she snapped, Victor Newman hiding behind you again. Patty smiled. I volunteered. Diane stepped forward, her voice deadly. You're going to regret that. The tension between the two women crackled like lightning. Years of hatred resurfaced in a single moment. Patty's expression darkened. You always thought you were better than me. I know I am, Diane shot back. Patty suddenly laughed. You should have seen Jack earlier tonight. Diane's eyes burned. That's enough. She moved toward the bed, helping Jack sit upright. Jack, listen to me, you've been drugged. Jack looked horrified. Patty, what did you do? Patty smirked. Nothing you didn't enjoy. Jack's face drained of color. Diane clenched her fists. If you say another word. Kyle stepped between them. Mom, let's get Dad out of here. Billy appeared at the door. No security, no crew, Victor cleaned the place out. Patty slowly grabbed her coat. Well, this has been fun. Diane blocked her pass. You're not going anywhere. Patty leaned closer, whispering with chilling calm. Oh, yes, I am. She pushed past Diane and walked down the hallway. Billy tried to stop her, but she slipped past him. Within minutes, Patty had vanished into the night. Kyle cursed under his breath. She's getting away. Diane didn't respond. She was staring at Jack. Pain flickered across her face. Jack reached for her hand. Diane, I swear, I didn't know what was happening. Diane looked at him, torn between anger and heartbreak. I believe you were drugged. Her voice softened. But that doesn't mean this doesn't hurt. Jack closed his eyes in shame. The yacht rocked gently beneath them as the reality of the night settled over the Abbott family. And somewhere far away, Patty Williams smiled as she headed back toward Genoa City. The damage had already been done. Morning sunlight slowly spread across the waters of Lake Michigan as the rented boat carrying the Abbott family sped back toward shore. Inside the cabin, silence filled the air. Jack sat quietly, staring down at his hands. The drug's effects were fading now, but that only made the memories clearer. Too clear. Across from him, Diane watched through the window, her expression cold and distant. Kyle stood near the door, arms folded. Billy leaned against the wall, clearly furious. No one spoke for several minutes. Finally, Jack broke the silence. I remember parts of it, he said quietly. Diane didn't turn around. Jack swallowed hard. She drugged me, my head felt like it was underwater. Billy muttered under his breath. That psycho should be locked up. Kyle nodded. Victor's behind this, no doubt. Diane finally spoke. He always is. Her voice was calm, but the hurt underneath it was impossible to hide. Jack looked toward her. Diane, please look at me. She slowly turned. Pain flashed across her eyes. I walked into a room and saw my husband in bed with Patty Williams. Jack winced. I didn't know what I was doing. I know. Her voice cracked slightly. But I still saw it. Jack lowered his head. I'm sorry. The boat continued racing across the water. Billy stepped forward. Victor orchestrated this whole thing, Patty was just the weapon. Kyle's jaw tightened. So what now? Billy smirked grimly. Now we hit Victor back. Diane shook her head slowly. No, everyone looked at her. This is exactly what Victor wanted, she said, chaos inside our family. Jack looked ashamed. And it worked. Kyle leaned closer to him. Dad, none of this was your fault. Jack sighed. That doesn't change what Diane saw. Diane closed her eyes briefly. Patty wanted me to see it, she said quietly. Billy nodded. She staged the whole thing. Jack clenched his fist. Victor used her to destroy my marriage. Diane corrected him softly. No, she looked directly at him. He tried to. Jack met her eyes. And did he? For a long moment, Diane said nothing. The boat engine roared loudly as the shoreline finally came into view. Diane stepped closer to Jack. You were drugged, she said. Jack nodded slowly. I'd never betray you. Diane studied his face. I know. Relief washed over Jack's expression. But the tension hadn't completely disappeared. Kyle glanced between them. We still have to deal with Victor. Billy grinned slightly. Oh, I'm already working on that. Diane raised an eyebrow. What are you planning? Billy shrugged. Victor loves secrets. He held up his phone. And I've got a few of his. Jack frowned. You bribed that office manager. Billy nodded. And he talked a lot. Kyle leaned forward. What did you find? Billy's grin widened. Enough to make Victor sweat. Diane crossed her arms. Victor Newman doesn't sweat. Billy chuckled. Then we'll make him. Jack shook his head. This feud has gone on long enough. Billy raised an eyebrow. You planning to forgive him? Jack looked toward the horizon. No. His voice hardened. But I'm not playing his game either. Diane gently placed her hand on Jack's shoulder. He wanted to break us. Jack looked at her. Did he? Diane thought for a moment. Then she shook her head. No. Kyle smiled slightly. Then Victor just wasted a lot of effort. Billy laughed. Don't worry, he'll try something worse next time. Jack stood up slowly. Let him. The boat reached the dock. The Abbott family stepped onto solid ground again. But the storm Victor had created wasn't completely over. Somewhere in Genoa City, Patty Williams was already telling her twisted version of the story. And Victor Newman was surely waiting to see whether his plan had succeeded. Diane slipped her hand into Jack's. We're going home. Jack nodded. Oh yes. But as they walked away from the dock, one thought lingered in all of their minds. Victor Newman had started another war. And the Abbotts were far from finished fighting back.